Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. We got a great show planned today. We have a special guest coming on today with us, Bam Weather. We hadn't had those guys on for a while, so looking forward to them hopping on here with us in a few minutes, about 10:10, give or take a little bit. But looking forward to that, and looking forward to you guys chiming in today. We got a great show. We're going to talk about not only the weather, but a lot of things, And as always, you guys will direct the conversation. But one thing I did want to touch base on, it was, hey, I hope your weekend went well. And I'll tell you a little bit about mine. And we're going to talk a little bit about managing snow and ice in colder temperatures because it is cold. Oh, my. It is cold here in Louisville, Kentucky, and last few days, and certainly it's going to warm up a little bit. But man, I tell you what, it's been pretty chilly to say the least. I think this morning we were down to like 7 or something, and but we're way up now. We're up to almost 10. I think 10 or 11 degrees now. So, but very cold, very cold. We had some snow go through. We're going to talk about that, but yeah, we're not doing anything outside today, unfortunately. That the thing about it is, you get your snow and you get to go out and do snow and make your money on snow and that whole thing, and that's great. Absolutely love it. And but it just jacks everything else up. I mean, you're stuck like Chuck with trying to get your other work done, and we got plenty of that. We're going to talk about that as well on trying to keep customers pacified, if you will. Um, but most of them are smart enough to understand. I mean, they look out and there's snow all over everything. I mean, probably not a whole lot of lawn work we can do. So we'll see how that all pans out. We'll talk a little bit about that. But, man, hope your weekend went well. Mine went good. Like to hear how yours went. Be sure to reach out and let me know. 502-550-8307. Or you can hit us up on a turf line at 856-446-8873. And we've got a lot of ways you can get a hold of us, and we just want to make it easy. It's kind of like that old Staples commercial, man. Where you say, push the easy button. Well, here at Turfs Up Radio, we make it easy. Absolutely. So it's easy for you to hop on, easy for you to get involved, and look forward to your comments as we talk. But yeah, I hope everybody's weekend went well. I know Mike, one of our guys that helps us out with snow, he had he does a lot of roller skating, and but they had like a Christmas skating party or whatnot Saturday evening, and then got to go out and do a little snow Saturday night later on. But yeah, it's always a good day. Always a good day. Let's see what we got going. Let's see. That's true, Mike. Mike says, but even in this weather, there's still that person who wonders why you're not there for their leaves. That is true. I got to sneeze for a second. I'm gonna have to mute this thing. Maybe I can feel it. It's right there at the edge. All right, there we go. Boy, I muted it, but I think Daniels might have picked me up. Sorry about that, y'all. Oh, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. But yeah, they do wonder where you're at, and the weird thing about it is, I mean, Mike, I don't know how much snow y'all end up with down your way. Just curious. So see what y'all got your all's way. But I know I had some my very best friends lived a little bit south of Bardstown in a community called Balltown, and they didn't have nearly what we had here in Louisville, so we were kind of the sweet spot. So, but we'll talk more about that when Brett hops on with us here in a little bit. But Mike said 0 for them is what they had down. He's down in southern part of Kentucky, down around the Bowling Green area. So, yeah, so we were kind of in the sweet spot. But Mike said, let's see, he's had Christmas on the wife's side of the family Saturday or yesterday, but Saturday was family time. Cool. It's that time of the year, Daniel. People are rolling around and doing some family Christmas stuff.
Yep.
I know Kyle went to, I think Saturday, they had Leslie's uh, mom's side of the family. I think they did their Christmas, and it's that time of the year. So everybody moving around doing their Christmas thing. So, and that can get a little bit busy and hard to do with. And just everybody that, tries going to 693 places for Christmas, I'm sure we'll talk a little more about that, but that can be challenging. That can be challenging. So, but just keep your patience and do it and keep the family happy. That's the easiest thing to do. And, oh God, I got this little sign at home. It's funny. Uh, Holly and I found it out one year. Oh, it's a few years ago, several years ago, but little setup sign that says, "Don't talk about yourself while you're here. We'll do that for you when you leave." So, oh lordy. But anyway, Merry Christmas, Mr. Potter. Oh lordy, as y'all can tell, we're having a good day here at WLS. Not doing anything. Profits Unlimited. We're trying. Daniel's and him going to work on some videos today. So you guys in the profit circle, keep your heads up on that. We got several new videos be launching, and yeah, so it's been a great weekend for us around here, man. Didn't do anything other did snow Thursday night into Friday morning, and then kind of chilled out Friday, and then a little more snow Saturday evening, and went out and did that. And I had Tabitha rode with me Saturday night, and that was fun. She calls herself my bookkeeper. As as we chug around doing things, so that she's always fun to have with me. Makes time go by pretty quickly. And so, Tabitha, if you're listening, I know you're probably not. You're probably in your own meeting that you have about now. So, but if by chance you are, appreciate your help on that. It is easy. It does make it nice, Daniel. I'll be honest, not have to keep track of ins, outs, and that. She does a really good job of that on our, keeping up with that for us with all of our customers. So, and then other than yesterday, man, we went to a Sunday brunch with Kyle and his family and Katie. It was pretty much the whole group, other than Holly and her and CJ were actually out of town, in South Carolina, commuting back yesterday. But we had a Sunday brunch over there with the family at this club that Kyle and Leslie belonged to, and that was pretty nice. A lot of people. Santa Claus came. We all got a picture with Santa Claus. That was pretty cool. We had a family and my sister Sherry. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. She actually got in a picture. Uh, I swear, Daniel, I think she's on like some kind of government hide list because she never wants her picture, does she?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. There's something to it. I don't know what the hell it is, but maybe, I'm not wishing her demise, but maybe she's going to leave us a note, in something that says why she never wanted to do her picture. But she did get in that picture. And it was funny. Leslie's dad, who was there with us as well, uh, he got in a picture and he told me afterwards, he says, "Man, that's the first time I've ever done my picture with Santa Claus." I guess
Wow.
outside of being a kid, I mean, but maybe not even then. But he
First
said it's the
time.
first time. So I don't know. And there were you had a few kids up there that were doing the cry thing when they went with Santa. Not none of mine. They're old enough, but the little ones. Katie and I, and we always get a good picture, don't we, Catherine? Yeah, Katie said she's crying on the inside,
No,
but
she said I was crying on the inside.
oh, I got you. Oh, well, hey, we'll come back to that. Here's our buddy checking in with us. Let's see. All right, let's see here.
See here.
Brett, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Now that you called in, heck yeah.
Well,
We're,
thanks for
we're
having me.
hey, it's always great. It's been a while, man. It's been a while since we had John here, but I didn't want to bother y'all as busy as I know you all have been too. Y'all been running
It has
around.
been, yeah, it's been as busy really as I can remember it, especially this time of the year.
Yes, indeedy, man. Y'all been. I was thinking this morning uh, that we've been pretty busy, but I got to thinking about you, coming on, and I thought, well, God, we've been busy, but ours is just, busy when snow's approaching us. Y'all been off the hook because y'all got to tell everybody in the country what the hell's happening, So
Yeah, for sure. And
uh,
it's been snowing pretty much everywhere.
it has, man. And I want to give y'all kudos, and then I'll let you talk to us on the weather. But um, you told us back in October that December was probably going to be active, and
Yeah.
we did a whole lot of early order on ice melter and things like that because of that knowledge. So appreciate BAM giving us the insight early on to make that business move, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It definitely has been about as cold and about as snowy as it can possibly get for this time of the year. And, we knew that December was probably going to be the month that was the most wintry, if you will, which is, hasn't happened all that often over the past 15 years or so. And gosh, first half of the month certainly has panned out.
Lived up to it. I know our local guys here were talking about that. This is like now some of our listeners are really going to laugh when I say this, okay, Brett, but because they're in big snow country. But this is our fourth snowiest winter recorded in Kentucky. Now, keep in mind, what we've had. We've only had about 11 inches, but
Sure.
but it's our fourth highest for where we're at in December. Which
Yeah.
I know looking at the years that we've been in business, this has been a pretty good December so far for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually looking earlier. So for Indy, where we're based out of, it is the second snowiest start to winter on record. Behind, I think it's only 1977, and then for Louisville, it's the third snowiest start to winter on record, behind 1917 and 1966. So rare, definitely rare.
Rare, so third, good deal. Yeah, it is. It's a good thing, and it hasn't been crazy. It's been manageable snows. I mean, I think our first one was around 5 inches, and then that second one we had Thursday was around 5 inches, and then that little skiff of snow we had Saturday night. And again, I'm going to toot y'all's horn a little bit. I know you don't like me to do this, but I'm going to. Uh, I've reached out to you all a couple times, during the day with text, and um, you guys said, "Hey, look, it's looking like it's going to be about 0.69 inches." What we got back on the text potentially, and I think we officially recorded 7.7. So, is that good or a little bit lucky, man?
It's probably a little bit of both. To nail it on the head that well is a little bit of luck, but we can get within a range pretty confidently. And I don't know who I don't know who got so specific on it, but that's pretty cool.
That was cool. It was cool. And actually, on the real thing back at I'm gonna pull it up. I'll look on my Clarity app here, man. I think the range they gave us was around a half. So that was.
Yeah.
But regardless, man. I mean, that was just crazy. And that little snow forecast thing that says max, minimum, most likely.
Sure. Yeah.
That might have been where the 0.69 was at.
Yep. You're probably right. But hey, that's a good deal to get that close on.
But yeah,
on that data.
but
And,
yeah, Tyler. It was Tyler on our text that helped us. Yeah, and he said, man, it should be around half inch. So there you go. It's pretty daggone close. And we don't care if it's a half inch or an inch, but what we care about is when we encroach on 2 inches, because then it changes the game plan.
Yeah.
So
Plowing versus not.
yeah, and weight, and just okay, how much material we're going to put down, because that comes into play with us too,
Sure.
because we want to know, what's the dilution of the solution going to be. If we got a half inch of snow, it really, we go at a different rate than if we're going to have an inch of snow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it all plays in. And again, I want to say thanks for you all helping us get through these first 3 events, man. And if you guys aren't using BAM weather, you need to. I'm just saying it. They're great. It's bamwx.com, and All right, Brett, I'll let you talk weather, man. I know you don't like when I boast y'all up like
I,
that, but
I appreciate it. We appreciate the love and the support. So we appreciate it, especially after I'll pass that along to our team after a busy pattern. But I do think that we've got a nice little break coming after we get past some of this crazy cold in the short term. Pattern is going to warm up. I think
all
that
right.
the back half of December comparatively to the front half is going to be more tame. I still think there can be a couple of cold shots here and there, but I think that the milder air finally can win out a little bit more frequently than the brutal cold air. And I think that with that as well, it's going to be more difficult to get these snow systems. It's been substantially colder than normal as well, and you really need that in December to get good snow. And without that, I think the storm track for the back half of the month, shifting north, upper Midwest, northeastern part of the country, I think can continue to be a little cooler and a little more active. But I think for the Ohio Valley, it's going to be quite a bit less active. Can you
Okay.
get pesky stuff behind storms? Sure. But I think more rain than snow. Probably not a white Christmas this year.
I
I
hear
think
you.
we were a little bit too early with some of the snow this
Well,
time
hey,
around.
that's all right, man, because the white that you sent us, it makes it a green Christmas for all the contractors, and
Yeah.
so
Hey, yeah.
hey, we were talking about that here that we would certainly, winter's such an unknown. I mean,
Yeah.
you take contractors, whether they're a one truck operation or a huge company, they got a lot of time and money invested in the equipment to get the job done.
Sure.
And for something that's an unknown. It's not like going out and buying a sprayer and saying, hey, man, okay, well, we got to go out and sell 400 yards to spray this year, or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
But snow, it could be an inch or it could be 100 inches in a season, and you don't know
Mhm.
you're investing in that. So, um, yeah, we'd rather get it early and if it's going to shut off, have it shut off after the fact rather than starving to death till February and then getting hammered.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Which it feels like it's been more common lately. It's backloaded winters, but
so
I
what do
think
you
this
think?
year.
What do you think for January?
I think that there's probably another transition. I do think the cold and the more active pattern can come back. It's going to take some time. I think sometime the first or second week of January, we probably get another decent cold blast of air, and I think the pattern can get wintry again. So I think we've got a solid 2 to 3 week lull here. And that's not unusual after super active patterns in winter
Isn't it?
to
Okay.
get some relief. And so I think that there is another change that could happen, and we could get into a colder pattern early to mid January.
Yeah. So do you this is a very basic question, but when you all say Ohio Valley,
Sure, sure.
what does that encompass state
You know,
wise?
for me, I'm thinking of Kentucky. I'm thinking Ohio. I'm thinking Indiana. I'm thinking parts of Illinois. It's kind of in that region in there, especially the southern half of those states that I mentioned.
Okay.
But it is a broad term because everybody has a different definition, especially of the Midwest. Where is the
Right.
Midwest at? But that's kind of the area that I'm referring to.
Okay. All right. Because, you hear it all the time, the Ohio Valley. And I've wondered, I've never trusted anybody enough other than you all to ask what the real answer to that is.
Well, I think everybody has different definitions.
Yeah.
I grew up in southern Indiana, and I always thought of Bloomington as central Indiana. But then when I went to school there, they said it was southern Indiana. It's like, well, it's probably because I grew up a county from the river.
Yeah.
Everything north of me seemed like it would be central and not
Yeah.
southern.
Not, yeah, true that. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So, I know you guys do weather and you do it great, but
Sure.
what about the ice melter? Can you help any of the contractors across the country now that are scrambling for ice melter? Or y'all bring this warm weather break in to help these companies that theoretically are supposed to be mining material and treating it and getting it redistributed. Did they put their order in for some warm weather to get the supply back up? Or
I think our meteorologist probably put in a call for some warm weather for a little bit of a reprieve for a brief time.
just true that. So, but oh my gosh, it's something. It has been a good kickoff to say the least. But
Yeah,
so you think we're going to
absolutely.
be back into January looking more of a normal pattern for? I'm gonna be selfish for Louisville.
Yeah, I think so. I think that January offers up certainly more opportunities for cold and snow. I think that is it as active as December? I think that remains to be seen, but I think that it certainly has potential to be at the minimum for snow normal, if not above normal for snow. I think we'll have a harder time into February. I think the Midwest, the upper Midwest, Iowa and Wisconsin and northern Illinois and Minnesota are probably in a better spot late winter. I think it's active regardless late in the winter, but I think that our time has been December and it's probably going to be January in terms of areas further south and east.
Okay, because we've got a ton of work otherwise to get done that we've been snowed out on. I mean, we've still got a lot of landscaping
Sure.
work that we just don't plan on snow until at least about now,
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
early side. So we count production wise on, hey man, up until mid-December on scheduling workout, and we're in a position now where we'll take the snow over the rest of it, but now
sure.
we're trying to get our customers to where they're not mad at us and being able to take care of a little bit of this work before Christmas. So I'm kind of glad to hear that you think we're going to be able to do that the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think so. You've got a solid, 3 week, 2 3 week window, I think, where things will be pretty good. And, there'll probably be days in the 50s, if not maybe a day or two in the 60s. I wouldn't completely rule that out. So,
Right.
it's still winter, so we'll have storms that'll get cold again behind fronts. But I do think that I think if you need to get work done outside, you're in a pretty good spot here to end December.
All right, so we're gonna count on a solid active pattern beginning second week of January, first week of
Yeah,
January.
if I had to really get specific and target a date, I'm going to say January 5th is my call.
Okay,
Give or take, we'll keep an eye on it and trim that as we get a little bit closer. Would be my day to transition back
October.
to winter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I mean, really, honest to God, what I'm going to do and what I know people listening to us will do is make some business decisions based on material because of that.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And
we've
it's something we're always watching is the extended range forecast. I was working on the spring forecast this morning for
are you
clients. I'm going to put on clarity here soon.
good deal? Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that, and because really, as crazy as it sounds, I know it's only December 15th, but I'm already thinking about, okay, when do I want to slow down our material acquisition? You know,
Yeah,
uh, you,
yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
because based on what we have on, what you guys tell us, and hey, we'll try to make our best business decision on that as well. But so Christmas in the Ohio Valley's looking going to be warm. You think so? Kids are getting
I think,
sleds and all those things.
yeah.
They're going to wait till January to get them out.
Probably so. If they get that for Christmas, I think it's probably going to be a green Christmas around here at least.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, hey, Brett, I appreciate you hopping on with us, man.
Of course, yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I always love hopping on and appreciate your support as
Oh,
always.
absolutely. And how somebody get a hold of you guys if they would like to utilize your all's outstanding service?
Yeah, sure. They can go to bamwx.com and hit the inquire button, or if they want to email directly, they can email at sales@bamwx.com.
Sales at bamwx.com. All right, Brett, thanks a lot. Have a great day, man.
Yeah, thank you. You as well.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Tell everybody hi and tell your whole team that we appreciate them.
Yep, will do.
All
Thank you,
right.
Wayne.
Thanks, Brett. See you. All righty then. That was Brett Waltz. Daniel, Bam Weather, taking care of us and taking care of all of us here that want the care and want the love. You know, I'm not going to say they're perfect, but they're pretty daggone good most of the time. So, anyways, with that being said, let's take a short break. Want to give a big shout out to one of our landscape partners as well, James Sims. He has had a fire at his home yesterday. It wasn't his house. Let me rephrase that. It was his shop area at his house. So his home's in fine shape, but his shop where his equipment and all was stored was a total loss. And he's here in the Nelson County area, which is central Kentucky, kind of for you guys that don't know the area. But just if you believe in prayers and shit like that, uh, know that he would certainly appreciate that. Um, I can't imagine what it would be like to have that situation. I do remember twice in my career um, as a lawn and landscape professional. Never had a fire, knock on wood, thank God, where we had things burned up and that whole situation. But I have twice when we were before we got our own facility and building and all, where we were renting storage facilities to keep our equipment in. I did experience twice losing all my equipment to theft, and that's quite bad. And I imagine this has got to be even worse than that. Watching it burn up. But at least in theft, you got somebody to be mad at and like, somebody's head you want to pull off and that whole thing. But experienced it through fire right at your own home and watching your shop burn and that whole thing. Um, just show him a little love, man. If there's anything bright in it, and we always try to look at something. At least it's December, and I don't think his truck was in his building from the picture that he sent me. Uh, but but his equipment was. So he's got time between now and spring to, get that replaced. But that doesn't make it any easier, I'm sure. But it's not the pressure of, oh my God, I got all these lawns I got to mow tomorrow and all my equipment's burned up and how are we going to get that taken care of? And just if you would, get a little shout out and prayers and hope for him and his family as he had fire destroy pretty much all of his stuff, and that's just a sad thing. Um, just really is sad. And when he sent me that picture yesterday and said he's having a bad day, I absolutely get it loud and clear. So, Mike said in his short time in the business, he's seen 4 more fires, all with the same company. So, yeah, yeah, absolutely. But Mike also said, James, in case you're listening to us, man, I hate that for anybody. I'll definitely send up a prayer. So yeah, definitely we all will. And I know, as you starting to deal with that and the insurance and that whole thing, it's it's a bit of process. So first, anything we can help you with, James, let us know, man. We'd be happy to try to do anything we can do to help you get through this difficult time for you, I'm sure. So, with that being said, we're going to take another short, quick break, and we'll be right back. I want to talk a little bit about snow and managing and melting snow and really cold weather because it is a different process than it is, or it should be. I know a lot of companies out there, they have one specific material that's their go-to, and that's sodium chloride. Without being treated or any type of liquid application on it as a pre-wet or whatnot. But the reality of it is, when it gets very cold, the technique needs to be a little bit different. And something we got to think about too is, even in a light snow situation, let's just call it under an inch, if you will. Uh, how do we go about dealing with that? Where, say a half inch or 3/4 of an inch of snow at 30 degrees is a completely different environment than it is at 10 degrees. I mean, because just you're going to experience different environmental aspects of that snow not going anywhere. You're not getting much help, especially if it starts when it's dark. It's like 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. It's already, the sun's down. So it's a different management technique. But what it really boils down to is your preparedness as a contractor, and knowing that as the temperature gets colder, why it's important to understand the science behind some of the different products that you are not using. And one thing very simplistic is to understand if you're using an endothermic or an exothermic product. In other words, is it and sodium chloride is an endothermic product, and that's why it's less effective the colder the temperature gets. And I mean, Oxo Salt Company even will tell you, and right on their website, that, sodium chloride is 5 times less effective at 20 degrees than it is 30 degrees. Okay. So, and then you go down in temperature from that, and it even gets worse. And when I say worse, from a production standpoint, Daniel, is what I mean. From that standpoint, and how it's going to melt, or its ability to melt. So if it can't pull heat in from the surrounding environment to begin that melting process, then all you've got is a lot of product that you're applying or laying out on the property that's not doing very much as far as effectiveness. So we need to understand that we need some type of magnesium or calcium, potassium, some type of chloride or an acetate, just something that's going to work at a colder temperature to be the accelerant, if you will, to allow the sodium chloride, if you want to use that as well, to dissolve and work. And that's where we as commercial contractors need to train and educate ourselves first, and so we can train and educate our customers. And we'll talk a little bit about that side of it as well. But it's much more to this industry, and this is more geared toward contractors that are listening to us, whether you're live or on our podcast here on Turfs Up, to know that sodium chloride is not always the right answer. For many contractors, it's the only answer because that's what they have easy access to, and that's what everybody hey man, just use rock salt. Go down and get you a scoop or two of rock salt in your hopper and go spread it, and sun comes out, it'll work, and it's slower and blah 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 and all this. But what you need to think about as a professional, I'm gonna go with that word with it. What you need to think about as a professional is simply you're being hired to be a risk manager for people that you do snow and ice for. You're not being hired to plow snow. You're not being hired to just go out and generically put a product down to help control, what's left over after plowing or on a light snow. What you're really hard to do is reduce risk. And in order to reduce risk, we have to understand as professional contractors what the difference is between applying a product because that's what everybody else does and applying the wrong product at the wrong temperature, and potentially, and I'm not going to say this is always the case, but potentially getting negligence involved because you did use the wrong product at the wrong temperature, you had a slip and fall, and then during the litigation process, it's going to be, well, Wayne, it was 7 degrees outside. Don't you understand that sodium chloride from a science standpoint is not going to be effective? Why didn't you use a different product? because your customer thought you were going to melt snow at 7 degrees the same way that you're going to melt it at 26 degrees. Well, the last thing, and I'm not an attorney, but I mean, I can guarantee you this is going to be problematic for you. The last thing that the worst answer you're ever going to give is, well, no, I didn't know, and that's what everybody else is doing. And I think that's what we need to think about as a professional contractor is, what are we doing to not only protect our customers and be a better risk manager for them by using the right product in the right condition, the right temperature, or are we just doing it the way everybody else is doing it? And that's what we got to understand. Another very important thing in understanding cold or temperature snow and ice management is that proactive is, and this has got in any situation with snow, but really comes into play when as the temperatures get down like single digits where they're at now, is being proactive versus reactive. And that's where you guys that are waiting for your customers to call you to go make an application, rather than them trusting you and giving you the authority to make the decision that, hey, yeah, we need to go ahead and get it. We need to do a pre-treat, or we need to do this on the onset. And there's other management tools such as liquids and things like that that we're not getting into today. But just looking at it specifically from a granular application standpoint, okay, proactive is always better than reactive, and using the right product at the right temperature, the right condition, knowing, hey, what's the application rate of that product? Because the best way to tell if a contractor's done their job appropriately is you're melting snow and ice in an efficient way, time stamp way. In other words, how long is it taking for it to work? The reapplication of material if necessary. And then also what we got to think about is, what is that reapplication interval going to be? Number one, are we dealing with wet or dry snow? Because as most of us know, and if you don't know this, here's an epiphany, which is basic. But the colder the temperature is, traditionally, normally, the drier the snow will be. So your snow ratios are higher. So instead of being on a 10-to-1 ratio of inches to precipitation, or 12-to-1, you may get ratios 15 or 18-to-1, meaning 15 inches of snow to 1 inch of precipitation. Okay? So now what does that mean? What does that boil down to, and what's that mean? What that means is the reapplication of material may not have to be as fast because there's less liquid content in the snow. So if you get 2 inches of snow at 28 degrees and 2 inches of snow at 8 degrees, the equivalent, does this make sense, Daniel? The equivalent liquid, actual melted liquid, is less. So the dilution of that product lasts longer for you.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Okay. But I mean, we talk about it a lot, but I mean, I don't want to get lost in getting into the full blown snow and ice management presentation here, but I just want to address, since it is really cold, it is December 15th, and we got a lot of winter to go in a lot of parts of the country, that we need to understand that it's up to us as contractors to understand endothermic and exothermic products. Exothermic meaning that, hey, there is a short-term heat release. That's why for you guys using like bagged material, for an example, that is a blended product of sodium chloride and maybe some magnesium or calcium chloride, or maybe some of both in there, the magnesium and calcium chloride that's in that bag has a short-term heat release that will begin the dissolving process, melting process, if you will, to create the brine, and then the sodium chloride will dissolve and be effective. But it needs a catalyst Same reason for you guys using bulk salt. A lot of you guys have finally transitioned over to using a treated bulk salt. A lot of different flavors out there, but they're generally treated with either a calcium or magnesium or both. Or if you're using a product like Magic, okay, we're a fan of that. We like that. There's a lot of good products out there. But my point is, you need something to be the catalyst to get the melting process started. And if you're making this application at night, know that the process is going to be slower regardless because you don't have the UV light. There's no sun. And even without sun, even cloudy, you got UV light. And that in itself, and you've got movement on the properties. That's another thing. And, you know, a way I want everybody to think about this is just to go out in dark and make an application and not take some time to drive over the product and push it down through the snow, get it on the bottom, you know, because it's always better to melt from the bottom up than it is to top down. Because what happens, the colder it gets, you may melt from the top down, but it's too cold and that brine won't work its way underneath the snow. So that's when you look at a property that you've made an application to and you look down and you see all these little holes where it's melted, but it's not, you're not getting any movement out of it. So that's why give your customer the courtesy of a drive over the top of it a little bit to help push it down, number one, but also to help move that brine a little bit around. It's kind of like if you make chili. I'm going to use chili for an example. It could be anything. You know, when you're making anything and you put it in a pot, right? And let's look at chili, hamburger, onions, whatever you like to put in it, hamburgers, onions, tomatoes. You know, you don't just pour it in a pot because if you do, it's going to taste like shit because it ain't going to get mixed up. What you got to do is stir it, right? Get it mixed up. And that's when your ice melter will, that's why it's always more effective with traffic, is because it gets mixed up. That brine gets pushed around, you know. So know that you've got to be the one to educate the client that says, hey, number one, we got more than sodium chloride available. Number two, our night applications will work, will melt, but it's going to be slower because we don't have, you know, movement on the lot. So it's going to be a little slower to work. And that's where if you use a catalyst product, okay, magnesium, calcium, potassium, whether it's a chloride or an acetate, whatever it is, there's a lot of varieties out there. But the point is to educate the customer on what the expectations are going to be for the ice melter and, you know, what they can expect. Now, so part of that's done in the selling process with an explanation. You know, it goes back to the military thing. You get an explanation, a demonstration, and a practical application, right? So you got to explain it to them. Then you're going to put the product down at some point during the winter. They're going to see it, and they're going to see the result of how it works, whether it's day or night, traffic, no traffic. So some of those additives, such as you driving on it and you taking time to push it in and down and around, hey, yeah, it takes a few minutes, but most of you guys aren't doing huge facilities. You know, you're doing 10, 12, 15, 20,000 square feet. So, yeah, you can take a few minutes and drive around the property to help move it, you know. Just something to think about. Just something to think about because it's got to get stirred up. It needs that movement. We got to educate our clients. And still you're going to have some people on game day, and on game day, what I mean by that is when you're actually out there making those applications, that the result's not going to be fast enough for them, but at least they've been told. But prior to an event, it's like us here. It doesn't matter what it is, snow, sleet, freezing rain, doesn't matter. If we anticipate an event, Katie gets a email out to everybody saying, hey, here's what we're expecting. Here's what you can expect from us. Again, we've educated them. Now we're going to inform them prior to the event what our plan is and how we're going to do it and how we plan on managing the event. Now, what you and I know too is there's a lot of variables that get involved once the event actually starts. You know, sometimes it's more snow, sometimes it's less snow, but then we become a little more reactive. But we start off in a proactive mode. And if you want to be successful with snow and ice management, it requires a few things. Number one is you got to be the one that makes the call. I've got an hour talk on this. You know, why is it important that you make the call? And there's a lot of reasons, but the biggest one is to be proactive. Okay, there's many other reasons that we're not going to get into today, but you got to be the one to make the call. Your customer's got to trust you as the professional that you're going to do what's right at the right time, at the right rate, with the right product. If they want to call you and have you, okay, well, hey, you know what, Wayne, I need y'all to come out here and make an application. You know, it's code, you know, blah, 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 or whatever the situation is. It's the wrong way to run your business. It's the wrong way to run your business. I'll say it a third time. If you're letting the customer tell you when you're coming to their facility, you need a different customer. It's just the short and long of it. Now, you may say, well, Wayne, you're being a little bit arrogant, man. No, not a bit. I just, after 47 years in this industry and dealing with people, there's plenty of work out there. Some of them want to micromanage you, and some of them want to hire you as a professional. If you want to be micromanaged, go after those accounts, because that means, hey, your competitor is going to get the better accounts. So fill your route up with micromanagers if that's the way you want to do it. But if you want to be a professional, I don't micromanage my doctors. You know, you don't or maybe you do. I shouldn't say that. I'll just keep it personal. I don't micromanage my doctor. I don't micromanage anybody I hire. I hire them because I think they can do the job. If I hire somebody to paint my house, I don't tell them what size brushes to use. I don't tell them, you know, hey, do this, you're too thick, you're too thin, whatever. No, I hire them to do the job. You need to give and promote that same confidence to your customers that they are hiring a professional. But when you go in and you don't have any type of educational input during that sales process of, hey, this is when we plow. This is, hey, you might see us plowing for less than 2 inches. You know, hey, if it's going to be 8 degrees and there were guys plowing with less than an inch here the other night, which was okay if that's the way they wanted to do it. Now, traditionally, you're not going to plow less than an inch, but maybe they got those zero tolerance accounts that don't want to wait for the melt, so they were plowing an inch of snow. And yeah, some was being removed, but we use a different type of ice melter that will give us the ability to melt that faster. Okay. But if I was a sodium chloride alone guy, yeah, I probably would have plowed it, you know, because I knew that, hey, it's going to be way too slow. It's not going to work. So pre-plan is the thing number one, but just as equally as important as pre-planning is knowing what product you're going to use, and don't say, well, shit, they're never going to pay for that. My customers aren't going to pay for that. Going rates, you know, whatever. God, that's another story for another day. We're not going to get into going rates today. I don't feel like doing going rates today, Daniel.
Yeah, I don't think you could in 3 minutes.
No. But, and there was a lot of that going on the line. I printed something off to talk about here on Turf's Up one day this week about going rate. What's a going rate? Oh my God. We're not, that's the last time I'm going to say going rate this show. But anyways, what it boils down to is, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be better than? and what makes you different and better. And what makes you different and better, the number one thing that applies to everybody out there is not price. If you said price when I said what makes you different and better, you're the wrong person for the job. And I will 100% stand by that. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm just saying if all you're worried about is being, if your number one deal is to be the best price, then you certainly have got the biggest problem going, because you got a hell of a lot of work with very little loyalty, and that loyalty is just going to go just as long as the price is lower. But what you can do is differentiate yourself by knowing the difference in products, whether it's endothermic, exothermic, and why that's so important, and having those products available and on hand to utilize within your snow and ice management business, whether it's 8 degrees, -8 degrees, or 34 degrees. And that's just a few numbers I threw out there. They got no relevance other than it's a wide temperature range. Be proactive, not reactive. And at the end of the day, that's going to be what makes you different and better than your competitor. And when your lots are melting off and your competitors aren't, that's what makes the difference. You guys have a great day. Appreciate the last hour of your life. If you got any questions, be sure to reach out to us. You can reach me at 502-550-8307. Join the Profit Circle today. We'll see you guys next time. And listen to Turfs Up Radio all day, every day. We'll see you guys.